Welcome to Windows on the World, bringing you cutting-edge news, empowering information, and no conspiracy theories. On tonight's show, I'm with Terry, and we're talking about this Mini Holland scheme, which has now escalated to the point where nearly all the roads in Walthamstow Village are closed. And Terry's been a resident here for some time. How long have you been here, Terry?
Well, I've lived in the borough actually 19 years in First Avenue, and lived at this property a year ago on the 14th of August. I have noticed that, well, I feel and believe what they're doing to our residential area is they're trying to cream us all out of here, shut us off from the world so that we hurry up and die because we're all elderly. And they are aware that a majority of tenants in this most populated sheltered accommodation area, the village, with at least 6 sheltered accommodation supportive, a whole majority of Summit Road learning disability homes, people with severe mental disability homes, and we are just being enclosed in a prison till we peg it. Now, I'm 58 here in St Mary's. The next age group is 80s and 90s, and some residents are 93 years old. We've lost 5 residents in under 3 months. Now, I do believe that East Thames think, well, these, by the end of the year, will not be with us, and some will go. All that'll be left is me, and they probably will just knock this building down and build their private block of flats, which is planned, I believe, 5 years from now. There won't be what we have here. Business will be out because of the public can't get here, can't drive. You're not going to drive and park 8 miles away to go to the village to eat, are you? And get ripped off on top. And I think that most people here, and I do believe, they're very upset, they're very angry, and the real reason is they're not listening to the people who live in this borough. Now, majority of these people that want this aerial view plan that they've probably planned for a decade to execute without any fault of any human beings other than their money and how much more corrupt money they can get in their bank account. These people do not live in this borough. They don't work in here. They have no idea what it's like to try and get out of this village. No dial-a-ride. A cab driver has to put 3-4 quid on your cab journey. That's going to discourage a lot of people now. Friday, first day, we had to have great big rent-a-killing with their great big machines, shut off all our lounge. The whole building had to be sprayed because of bed bites. All they did in my kitchen is put board up behind existing holes. Disgustingness, you can film it. I run my hands under the cupboard and sliced and diced all my fingers because there's a 2-inch gap under them all. So I got my friend to sticky tape all the whole areas because I don't want rats, spiders, mice and other things in my home.
So it looks like a bit of a bodged job all round. I mean, I've noticed that. So in your opinion, you think that it's because they're going to sell the place off for flats, which actually would make sense with these plans of these so-called mini Holland areas, because they're trying to bring in people with jobs and a lot of money. But these areas are totally now closed off, and small businesses are going to be ruined by this. And what they're doing is they're trying to make it look as though it's a new form of community. And in fact, it's the opposite, really, isn't it?
Destroyed, and there's no community. I tell you, the biggest community in the London Borough of Waltham Forest is Miss Teresa Achilles. And I tell you why. I went out last year and got 9,000 people in my mobility scooter and a Diamante board to look at 2 photo albums of adaptations for a disabled person, and these people took the time, went through folder to folder, saw the £50,000 disability facility grant, your taxes, may I add, your taxes that they pillaged, pirated away in their pockets, and really spent £2,000 on adaptations. What they're doing here is the cheapest, tackiest work that will subdue, is a very good word, subdue you, put in the basic necessary things, and really there is no individual freedom to live or be. You are meeting the needs of your landlords now in what they want, not what your need is. That's what I've realised here. And again, we're meeting all the needs of the rich people. Boris Johnson has never been down here on a bike to ride with any cyclists who are, so that you know, very dangerous, very fast. I've seen many cyclists nearly kill kids in Orford Road. They come out of that church 100 mile an hour and fright the bejesus out of me in my power chair. I can't go that fast. They don't look left and right. And really, I think that £30 million in your pocket, no wonder you're all on holidays and just leaving messages. You're in an all-day meeting. So that you're aware, Mark, many councillors, people also like East Thames, Debbie Cook, bigwigs, they actually at 9 o'clock are in a meeting all day. I worked very hard in my flower industry. I had meetings, but they were never, ever an all-day meeting. What are they, politicians, gods? I asked Councillor Chris Robin if he was a god, because he don't meet the public. How did he get?
No, he's an overpaid public servant who's been in the job, as you say, very long time, and is just enforcing this consensus on everybody because he doesn't live here.
Can he read what he's signing? I mean, how old is the man? 80, 90?
Well, he did actually say, you know, there was something in the local paper, The Guardian, and they were stating that local residents were unhappy with him because the planning had been passed for a block of flats which vastly overlooked residential areas, and it also impacted on local shops. And he just stated this is basically his statement to the public was, it's just the kind of change we need. And this is the sort of speak that you hear, meaningless, but they always use the word change, but they're never going to tell you what the change is.
Well, all I've got to say about this old age pensioner is, how much change do you think you can have? Why don't you get ousted out of your home, thrown into a shitty council flat, and see how your life will change? You won't live a week. You'll die of an heart attack and the cold. But you live very comfortably. You're not poor, and basically you shouldn't be in your job because you are frightened of the public. And I myself, I don't want to follow any leader, and I don't vote for you, that will not stand and face the very people he wishes to serve. And if you watch Rome, you'll remember that these politicians were not all pretending to be for the people, but they were of the people. Is that correct?
Well, that's right, but we're talking about a new form of society here, aren't we, where the public don't have a say, but things are done in their interest. This is what they're saying. Well, it's all in your interest. And what people have now realised here, which I did a show on Mini Holland about 8 or 9 months ago, because I knew what was going to happen, and people said, you're exaggerating. Well, they're not saying that now, but what they're actually saying is, how did it come to this? How did it come to this with no public consultation? How's it happened so quickly that roads have been completely shut and we're basically locked in a prison? And now people are realising, but it's too late now. There is going to be a High Court case against this, but the work's been done. So it's not going to be reversed, is it?
No, it's not. And you got a High Court case? Good luck, because I can tell you one thing. When you take on a tyrant and a monopoly, they'll wear you down to your sand. They've got all the money in the world and all the lawyers in the world to fight you and your legal company. Now, I have heard, well, it is a fact that the Village Road is actually battling with the London Borough of Waltham Forest pertaining to their Rut Run Road now.
Which road is this?
The main village road where the bus comes down, the only road to come in, isn't it?
Yes, that's the entrance to the village, which when I came in here last night was actually shut off. You weren't allowed to get into the village that way. I had to find a little back route into the village, and it does now feel like you are totally enclosed in the place. So I know the road you mean. Yes, that's the main access route into the village.
That's correct, and that's been turned into, look, you've got lorries, vans, vehicles, public, and it's become a rat run, no traffic lights, people doing what they like, and it's dangerous. There's nurseries, children live there, and you've turned that into a high street busy road, which really is not acceptable. They, again, do not live in that road to experience what has happened. And change is good, but why don't you come and live in our borough, and why don't you feel the effect and impact of this unwanted modern science world? We will never ever live in a spaceship above Earth. You will never ever get rid of the vulnerable, elderly, sick and the disabled. And all I'm going to say about this borough is, if you want it into a rich, guppy borough, get us all out of here, put us where we wish to know. But remember this, when that guppy loses its job, thanks to yous, it will no longer be able to afford its guppy flat. And whatever.
I like that, guppy rather than yuppie, because a lot of them do look like fish, don't they?
Well, they are walking around with their, in the 80s we called them Filofax twits. Now we got selfie guppies. I've seen it myself in 6 months. People walking around this village with that stupid magazine book, falsifying areas, brush painting them up, or God knows what they're doing. And I myself, because I am disabled, I have a Yorkie, I have wheels, I'm out and about a lot in the streets, and they're all looking what to do, where to go, and there is nothing here for people. It doesn't take them long to come here and wander the streets a weekend, which, Mark, if you go now, you will see, oh, you can't afford £8 for a sandwich and a cup of coffee.
I think you've just put a really good point there, though, about the fact that really it's an okay little spot, but there's nothing here, is there? It's not a village. No. It's not a village in a traditional sense of a village.
Villages. Yeah. There is nothing. The only thing that's a village here is Mickey the Butcher's, and that's because he's got sand on the floor.
Well, it's ironic, really, because in Walthamstow there's loads and loads of places to eat, always have been, but they're not round here, really, are there? There's a couple of restaurants, but I think what they're trying to do, this is an experiment that is going to be played out everywhere, in that I think they're going to create this little safe little enclave for people with a lot of money, and they will then be complaining about there's too much crime outside this area, and they will extend these areas. That's really what I think is going to be the result of all this.
I'm going to say this, as I'm a street girl, I've got lots of friends, firemen, police officers, 40 years my best friend, right. This is now one of the highest crime areas in London, Walthamstow. Why? Because now everybody knows all the guppies and all their guppy funds are moving here. We have already been informed 3 weeks ago that there is a huge European gang going round that's creamed Sharma's house, West Avenue, few shops in the village. Now, I'm worried because we are vulnerable sitting targets, us elderly, disabled people. Now, you bringing more and more money into this area will only bring more and more thieves.
I noticed something several weeks ago when I was here, and it was something. I walked out onto Hoe Street through the village.
Oh, the chicken and chip Hoe Street.
Well, yes, I was talking at the top of Hoe Street by the Baker's Arms, and the atmosphere's changed. There does now seem to be a kind of divide going on. It was something I picked up with people's attitude, and that wasn't there before this demarcation, which has become, you've got now Black Horse Village, you've got, this is Walthamstow Village now, isn't it?
Yes.
And Mark House Village.
So are we no longer the London Borough of Waltham Forest? I mean, excuse me, what are we? I mean, 1 minute we're Dutch Mini Holland Village, now we're the Village E17. And when did this country start putting villages in London, when we are renowned for our English countryside, our beautiful cottages and our beautiful villages? So whoever yous are, your plan is really going to backfire, because number one, these wealthy people that have been tossed out of their Richby home, guppies that can't afford their rent, they have no care for this borough. All they're interested in is that Victoria line and getting to work. which is the only asset this borough can offer anybody.
Well, it does have many other railway stations, and it has Wood Street, yeah, which goes into straight into Liverpool Street. You've got Queen's Road, yeah. But I'm trying to just get this bit over because it's quite important, I think, Teresa, that the transport links here are especially good. And what they're doing is they're creating these controlled little areas of commuters who will go to work every day, come home, and as you're saying, there's going to be less and less to do here because the businesses in the immediate vicinity are going to close.
Well, they have to, because at the end of the day, if you carry on another year with your custom dropped, how the heck are you going to afford all? Look what happened to Penny Fielding, who made the village. The village didn't get a name until Penny Fielding and Interior Designs took that shop and turned it into something to make the village proud of. After 10 years, you didn't even want to help her remain in the village, and she's what caused the village. Not this borough, not the £30 million. It was Penny Fielding 10 years ago who opened up Interior Design with her big public name, and she did good. Hence, they tripled her rent. 100 grand a year, hello, rent, yet you're giving rent to people to open up coffee shops with an alcohol licence in the village. Coffee and alcohol. And these people that come to our area, they are bad-mannered, they're rude, they do not care that you're sick, elderly and disabled. And outside that Eat 17 and that supermarket, as we see many times, horde of them all with their prams, all these guppies with their guppy, rude, bad-mannered, loud children, because we were not raised like that in the East End. Another thing what you're doing with this change, you're making everybody indifferent. They all want to be selfies with their little selfie guppy family and nothing else in their world.
That's really easy to manipulate people like that, you see, because they don't know what's going on and they think the world revolves around them. And you've brought up a really good point. This is where this so-called communitarian agenda really actually applies, because what they've done very cleverly, and this is social engineering, is brought those people in because they are blind to what's going on.
They are dividing communities. They come into our homeland, our borough, our community, without any fault of the existing people that live here. And that saddens me, because we were born in East Ham in the 50s. None of us were poor or rich, but we were clean, well presented, and we had manners. And we did not walk the streets screaming and shouting, kicking and being abusive. All you created, you government, is an aggressive, violent, abusive world that will not meet anyone's needs.
Well, it's an ignorance, isn't it? Ignorance has been bred into the equation. So you've got selfish and ignorance, and people who are selfish and ignorant, as I said, are incredibly easy to manipulate. And this social experiment, this social engineering experiment in Waltham Forest, is aimed at those people, and those are the sort of people who are implementing it as well. And then in the background you've got these lazy councillors who have basically just accepted it because they had to, because the money came from outside here and it was an agenda that was planned a long time ago. So they're quite happy to take the money and run.
So I've got no respect for them councillors. Roger Khan, he looks like he needs a good bit of feeding up. Mark Roslin, you're too busy with your lovely brand new cottage and your big wedding you had. And what did you say to me? It's the goodwill I come here on Saturday mornings. Out of my goodwill. Yeah, right up your butt.
But that's the arrogance of them, isn't it? I mean, if they turn up, they think they're doing you a favour.
They're not human. They don't give a toss. They're not interested in any people. Look, Stella Creasy herself, unless you're a Muslim or a Hindu, you're not getting anywhere. She wouldn't even come into the building 6 months. She didn't want to come and support old age pensioners. What do they think they're going to do with her when she's 90? She'll be in a box with a drawer, a glass of water and a slice of bread.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Well, they're not going to get old.
When these people do appear, they just make a few sound bites. And in her case, I think that she's been very negligent about what's going on here. But
she could have shut this road.
She could have actually got people together and informed them about what was going on. But what I'm to kind of present here, this idea that I don't think she was told. I don't think she knows what the whole thing's about. She hasn't read the documents. These people are not informed. And there is places where they are too afraid to go because we're talking about a lot of money here. It's a big agenda. She can do nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. And people need to realise that their local MPs do not represent them.
We know that. Well, had they represented us, they would have been here opposing with us. If you councillors and our borough really, really opposed the stupid, wasteful money from Boris Johnson or TLC, whoever give it to you, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. You should have stood with the people that you wish to serve. Because without us, you don't have a job. And this is what I don't understand. Who keeps voting you all in?
Well, that's a really good point, and that's a question that people should be asking themselves because a lot of these people seem to appear and the local residents don't know where they've come from. And we had this several years ago with Clyde Lokes, who's now Cabinet Member for the Environment.
God help us all, God help us, as if he cares. Well, what's he going to do? What are you going to do, sir? What have you done since you got...
Well, he prosecuted a lady for giving away a cardboard box. What more do you want?
Well done to you, sir. We'll get King Leonidas and get you in the Spartan army. Your bravery. What did that cost the taxpayer?
Exactly, £15,000.
Oh, over a cardboard box.
Yeah.
You ought to be proud of yourself.
Well, he was incredibly disappointed with the outcome because the lady who gave the cardboard box away was accused of fly tipping. Of course, she didn't do that, and it went to Crown Court. But what the point? It went to Snaresbrook Crown Court.
I'm appalled.
Well, it's all you can just Google that on the internet and it will come up.
They cannot get enough money. Every now I heard, what did you call that road again? That where we, goes round and where the bus comes.
Oh yes, the one that goes into Sherne Hall Street.
Yeah.
That's the road leading into the village. That's the main road into the village. I can't remember what it's called. But...
Well, halfway down that there is an actual block of flats there. I was told last week by the residents of that road that they've sold that block of flats and it's being knocked down and going to be built into a private block of flats with a car park.
Well, these plans have been in the making for a very long time, and you can't just get planning permission that quickly. So we know that this has been something that's been in the background. The public have not been informed, but fitting into the long-term plan of it, they must have known about the plans for this mini Holland thing a long time ago. That was really the point I was making. But that road has been shut off, hasn't it?
It has. I would agree that these plans are in long term, and what saddens us the people is you have not informed us honestly in what you actually plan to achieve. And I will say this only because I'm an old school little tot. Your plans ain't ever going to work. And you know why? You're too busy being modern, scientific, and forgot to be human beings like how you were raised. You people were raised in a family, be it rich, poor, whatever, but you were raised in communities 50, 60 years ago, because that is all what we had after World War II, communities. You've destroyed that, and you're continuing to destroy that because yous do not no longer live in a community. Change. Where? What change? You built great big buildings in London, 8 Mile area. You forgot we're on tunnels. You forgot our island's made of clay. How many more big buildings are you going to put up on 8 Miles before it collapsed? You forget Rome built our underground. 10 feet under is tunnels. Under that, there are more tunnels. Under that's a river. You keep building and fracturing, basements. Our London will collapse and sink.
Well, the thing is that this so-called change is so superficial, and it's all about what people see immediately in front of them, that they probably haven't even thought of that.
Ah, yes, like my aerial view of my kitchen. There you go, that's what
which bears no resemblance to actually what's there.
Just like the top of the market, that building, the original plan did not come out to that. And you know what, you people, stop digging up 1960s Dagenhams for Dagenham Ford failed design council blocks and bringing them back now and adding a balcony and a coloured bit of brick, because I've been around a bit longer than you in East End, and what you're building is plans taken from 1950s, 60s, horrible designs that didn't meet the planning permission in Dagenham Barking. And that's a fact. And if you look at that top building, And you go look at plans 60s, you'll see that building. No, it's not what we were promised. Where's our shop?
No, this is again what we're talking about with this kind of mini Holland thing. You're talking about a funding system that the public don't quite understand how it works.
How
So that's a
did
good point.
guy manage to get rent, 100 grand a year rent, when Penny Fielding couldn't stay in a shop for 10 years? And he's got a rent of a coffee shop, plus they gave him an alcohol licence, which surely every coffee shop in the UK should be allowed to sell alcohol with their coffee. Starbucks was denied. Yet why has Coffin Frying got an alcohol licence? And many of the other little coffee shops now selling beer and wine. That's alcohol to me. You need a licence to sell that. How's that helping our community by raising alcoholics with their children sitting round them, drinking their drink? Mum's drinking coffee, dad's drinking beer. And your kids are running around in the street round you and your alcohol table. We were not raised round alcohol. It was locked away from children in cupboards. Never saw my mum and dad drink. Now North America doesn't do this, because I've lived in North America, San Francisco. I've lived in many countries, my own Cyprus, Mediterranean. We don't live like this cheap, stupid, making ourselves something we are not. And the fact is, we are the United Kingdom. We are England. We're not America. We're not Holland. And I bet half the people have never been to Holland to even know what a bike lane looks like.
Well, there's nothing wrong with having cycle lanes, but what they've done now is at the bottom of the roads which go into Hoe Street, they've put in what they call Copenhagen-style pavements. This is the way they describe them. So where you normally have a junction to go out onto the main road, you've now got a give-way line before the pavement, which they've put in place where the junction was. So you have to drive across the pavement, and that's going to cause conflict with pedestrians.
It's an accident.
Yeah, then you're going to have to give way to the cycle lane too. So you have to give way twice before you give way to the traffic.
And all this is on a one-way, two-way traffic, is it? So it's all printed out on paper. Nobody draws. There's no real thought given to the terrain, the structure, everything. It's all printed up. This was printed up for me, this aerial view kitchen, which I really need helicopter. 2 seconds on a computer. Did it work in practicality? No.
So your kitchen is like a good comparison to what Mini Holland is. So they had this idea and they enforced it. It doesn't work. A bit like your kitchen.
Yeah, my computer was actually printed up in 2 minutes by Benchmark Designers. That's who design kitchens. 2 minutes and the screen printed it out for me, and I got an aerial view right in front of me. When you put this aerial view and the plans into practice, good old-fashioned practice, it turned out to be an absolute nightmare of nothing practical, not accessible, stupid bloody idea, and you wouldn't want to put your mum or you in a kitchen like that.
A bit like Mini Holland, really.
I'm afraid that is exactly like Millen Holland. You got the aerial view, you thought it looked good, you've exercised the practice, and really what you're finding out is it's just not working. And I bet you've gone over your 30 million quid too.
That's probably right, but we may never find out about that because they're very secretive about their funds, aren't they, in local authorities?
Oh yeah, they've pocketed all, bought their new homes, got their extensions, and I do notice that a lot of our councillors do drive great brand new 4x4s.
Yes, which goes against the grain of what they're trying to enforce on everyone else, because they want everyone cycling from 8 to 80, right? This is what they're saying, from 8 to 80, but where are they actually going to cycle to? Because the Walthamstow village is not really a place that you want to cycle around. You could walk around it in 5 minutes, couldn't you?
Well, that is true, and then let's get realistic. You're going 30 mile an hour on your bike on a tree curb that's come up the thing. That's the end of you and your face and neck.
Yes, exactly. That's a very good point. So they've got cycle lanes everywhere, but really this isn't about cycling, it's about control, and we're now in a controlled zone, which they've called Mini Holland, which is nothing like Holland, and you can't get in or out of it, and it's to actually lock down the area, really, so that you've got a controlled population.
I've never seen so many people sell their homes in the village like I had this last year. And it's not all because of the money.
When I last came round here, there was access in and out of the village, but now there's pretty much no access in or out.
Prisoned. prison. I had to spend an extra £3 to get to Marks and Spencer's, George Lane, there and back, because my black cab driver just didn't know how to get me home. My sister can't come here because she doesn't live in London. She spent 40 minutes trying to get in and couldn't get in. My niece last week, to take me to the hospital, she couldn't get in. She had to park at Queen Arms. I had to scoot down so that she could get me in the scooter.
This is a very important point about people visiting relatives, because if they're driving and they live in different parts of the country, they're going to have terrible difficulty. But the idea of all this is to get everybody onto public transport, but that doesn't work for everybody, and it never will.
I'm wheelchair bound. I've never ridden the underground because you just can't get on the underground. The only bus I've ever done is a W12. I'm too frightened to go on your other buses because people don't like us sickos on buses. And if there's more than, if I'm on there, then some poor mum can't get on with her bus. But I've never been out to get out of Walthamstow. I've never been out to see the city, my homeland where I was born and raised, and the whole of London where I worked. And I can't even move out the borough because I weren't born in the next borough. Well, I'm British. I was born here. I have every right to live where I want. If I had £1 million, I can go in Kensington and buy a flat and they wouldn't give a toss where I come from, would they?
Well, that's right, but the idea of this is to localise everything. It's to make that they're trying to create this false idea of community, but it's localised, and they don't want people going in and out of areas. So you've brought up a very good point there.
How are we benefiting truly in this change? No one's benefiting other than the people making the money. Only 6 people out of 32 residents got a form about Mini Holland. Pellicourt got 2, and I don't think Homecroft got any. So where you got all this and everybody voted it in, that is absolute nonsense.
Well, it is, because when the experiment was being done, the trial, there was a warden there when they'd closed off the roads through the village here, Orford Road. And the warden said that his boss, who worked for Transport for London, had said that the public was 65% in favour. Now, no public consultation had been done at that time. So what they've done is made up the figure of 65%. They haven't consulted anybody. They've made it look as though there's a public consultation by putting a few signs onto lampposts. And we now know there was no public consultation.
I'm really going to agree with that. It was all a false pretence, as usual. And you want to know the fact? You might buy the local Guardian and shut them up because they didn't represent us as they should have done. But you can go out here any day and night and just speak to people that live here and see what they and how they feel. And 90% do not want this. Even the guppies that are moving here, they can't get their rich 4x4s and sport cars to park outside their doors.
No, but this is all part of what they've
They're
been.
not happy.
Yes, but they were targeted because they were the people who go, yes, we want more cycling, without realising it was nothing to do with cycling.
Give up. The very few people that actually voted it yes for that reason has actually seen what a bloody nightmare it's become, and they're the very ones first to be so unhappy with it all.
Okay, so I'm now on Orford Road and I've popped into a newsagent's that's been here quite some time, and I'm with a proprietor. Can you just give us your name, sir?
Mr. Nikhil Patel, and also I'm owner of this shop. And last 15 years I'm here, and before normally shop is going good, and after Mini Holland is very, very difficult to get customers. We lose so many passing trades, and let's see what's happened after that. And maybe is good or not, but at the moment is not good at all. Thank you.
How would you think that would improve, though, in the future? I mean, because they've closed so many roads off, they seem to have closed even more roads off, and the access now to Hoe Street has been restricted with what they call Copenhagen-style pavements, which means that the cars have to stop before the pavement, then go over the pavement, then give way to the cycle lane too. And I can see that would only be causing conflict and problems in the respect of it's going to frustrate motorists even more. I came in here yesterday and they've closed off. They say you can't get entrance now from Schoenhall Street through into the main village route. So I was completely confused as to how to get in, and I've lived here 20 years. As far as this traffic goes and your deliveries, how's that affected you?
The delivery problem is a big issue. Is some delivers the wholesalers say we can't come your shop because the road is closer, and if it's they come in the road they get penalty £60, or then they can't afford to pay penalty or anything, and that's the main issue as well is delivery problems. Mainly is trade, passing trade is I lost too much. Before is very good, now is totally bad.
There's another newsagent round the corner, you were saying, and they're closing down as a result of this Mini Holland. Is that right?
Yeah, is because problem is they are in park behind this. The old road is closed and they can't get it customers from there, and already he's too quiet there. He feels quiet, and he don't want to risk mugging and robbery again. That's why he closed. And the mainly is a closer road. That's why he closed.
It's changed a lot since I came down here about 3 or 4 weeks ago, in the respect that it's a lot quieter, and it has a feeling of being more enclosed, because I parked in the middle of this place and I don't really know how I'm going to get out. So if you could say anything to local councillors and the people who are actually decided to implement these plans, what would you say?
Actually, exactly, I don't know what the councillors and council what they're doing, but it's for bad is things is small businesses and local residents peoples. They're suffering too much at the moment. Where they're going, where they're coming from, and small business is reliable on passing trade, but now is no passing trade at all.
Thanks for watching Windows on the World. Remember, keep watching those, watching us, watching Windows on the World, and we'll see you soon.